Chapter 2, the 490-year debt. God did not send Israel into exile suddenly or without explanation. The captivity in Babylon was not an overreaction, nor was it merely the result of political failure. It was the enforcement of a covenant warning that had been spoken centuries earlier. The law had already declared what would happen if Israel refused to let the land rest. When that refusal became permanent, God acted exactly as he said he would. Centuries after Leviticus was written, the prophets began to speak plainly about the coming judgment. Jeremiah was the clearest among them. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 11. Jeremiah did not describe a vague period of suffering. He stated a fixed number of years. 70 years of desolation were decreed, and those years were tied directly to the land. Later, Jeremiah recorded God's promise concerning the end of that judgment. For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 10. Jeremiah explained the duration of the captivity, but he did not explain the accounting behind it. That explanation comes later, after Jerusalem is destroyed. When Babylon conquered Judah and burned Jerusalem in 586 BC, the people were removed from the land. Decades later, Scripture gives us God's own explanation for why the captivity lasted exactly 70 years. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath, to fulfill 70 years. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 20 and 21. This passage is decisive. Scripture explicitly states that the exile lasted 70 years so that the land could enjoy her Sabbaths. The land rested while the people were gone. The number is not symbolic. It is the direct repayment of what had been withheld. This leads to an unavoidable conclusion. If the land rested for 70 Sabbath years during the exile, then 70 Sabbath years had previously been denied. God required 1 Sabbath year for every 7 years of agricultural labor. 70 missed Sabbath years, therefore represent 70 Sabbath years multiplied by 7 years per cycle, which equals 490 years. This means Israel failed to obey the land rest command for approximately 490 years. This is covenant accounting. God did not count individual failures in isolation. He counted years. He counted cycles. He counted what the land was owed. When the account reached its fullness, he enforced rest by removal. This explains why Daniel chapter 9 uses the same number. Daniel is not speculating about time. He is responding to a completed judgment that already carried a precise numerical explanation. Daniel himself tells us how he understood this. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. Daniel chapter 9, verse 2. Daniel understood by books. He was reading scripture. He recognized that the 70 years Jeremiah foretold were nearly complete. He also understood why they were imposed. That is why his prayer is a confession, not a complaint. Daniel repeatedly says, "We have sinned and we have not obeyed." He includes himself in a failure that spanned generations, even though he personally was faithful. He is confessing a national covenant failure that accumulated over centuries. By the time Jerusalem fell, the full 490-year debt had been reached. God did not add years. He did not shorten them. He enforced exactly what was owed. The 70 years of exile were not random punishment. They were repayment. This makes the next revelation in Daniel chapter 9 unmistakable. When God answers Daniel's prayer with 70 weeks, he is not changing the subject. He is using the same accounting framework. The same number that measured disobedience will now measure restoration. Until the 490-year debt is understood, the 70 weeks cannot be understood correctly.